AITA for telling my HOA to fuck off because my son violates their curfew? My dumbass HOA imposed a 9:45 p.m. curfew for those under 18 in our HOA. Mostly because of minors drinking and doing drugs in a park and playground. I think there may have been some graffiti and vandalism. Seems pretty reasonable, right? To fuck over everyone else for the actions of a few. Which, by the way, has done fucking nothing to stop whoever is doing this. The problem actually got worse after the curfew. But now, whenever kids lose track of time, they end up having to spend the night at neighbors' houses in fear of getting in trouble with the HOA for breaking curfew. This is as fucking stupid as laws banning guns or drugs. I'm pretty sure that's unconstitutional and there's talk of a lawsuit. My 17-year-old son works at a movie theater and comes home from work oftentimes at midnight or so. He has been asked by HOA board members why he's violating curfew and he explains why. They said it doesn't matter and he's getting a warning. He told them to go to hell and he doesn't respect them or give a fuck. I got a letter with a fine. I responded back and told them I'm not paying. I got a visit from a HOA member and he told me I'd be getting fined as long as my son violated curfew. I told him to eat shit and closed the door. I'd like to see them bring this to court. They keep coming to me and I just slam the door on them. NTA. Get a lawyer. They need to draft a letter to the HOA and get that fine dismissed. If you don't, then the HOA can put a lien on the house, etc. Curfews always allow for employment travel, so this would be no different, but they need to be put in their place before you have to deal with the consequences. NTA. But you may need to get a lawyer. It's one thing for the HOA to say no hanging out in public areas after X time. But that he can't drive from work to home is insanity. NTA. What the fuck is wrong with your HOA? Review the terms of your HOA, preferably with a lawyer. Unless the CC&Rs specify specifically that the HOA has the power to regulate the coming and going of individuals, they have no right to establish a curfew or fine for violations of curfew. And what they're engaging in is a form of extortion. Further, an HOA cannot just make rules up on the fly. Your CC&Rs should have a section on how new rules are propagated, and that's not by the president of the HOA saying, "Screw kids." I would absolutely get a lawyer involved and write them a cease and desist letter. Which is the first shot across their bow beyond, fuck off. And I would make sure that the members of your HOA board are made aware that you intend to hold them personally liable as well as the board liable as an entity. Have your lawyer phrase that last part in the letter. Read your bylaws, even if the HOA lacks the legal authority to impose a curfew. There may be language stating that by failing to respond or object to the fine you automatically accept it, appeal, or whatever mechanism for objecting the rules allow. Because there always is something. And get an attorney if you need to, but don't just ignore them. Talk to a lawyer. I cannot imagine they can really refuse your son driving to and from work at any hour. NTA. NTA. Please do not wait for a lien to be placed on your home. File suit against them. Vote out the people that came up with this rule. NTA and get with a lawyer. Edit. Also, review your contract and current HOA rules. NTA. It isn't unconstitutional for places to set a curfew. However, city and town curfews have exceptions for teens going to and from work or school activities. Since that legal precedent has already been set, your HOA is going to have a hard time defending their no exceptions to the curfew rule if they take you to court. NTA. I would imagine that a curfew that does not take in account transportation between home and work and illegal. Personally, I would be tempted to ask them to pay your son's salary for the time he can't work due to their rule. NTA. And it can't be legal to impose a neighborhood curfew that doesn't allow for reasonable life and employment. Okay, this is more than an asshole situation. You're actually acting pretty stupid here. If you refuse to pay the fines, most HOAs can take your home. As in, you wind up homeless and they get to sell your house. You need to be getting a lawyer and not waiting for them to take you to court. In most cases, they don't even need to go that far. They just slap a lien against your home and that's it. You pay or it's over. Stop acting the fool. Get legal representation. And put a stop to this. Slamming the door in their face and telling them to fuck off isn't going to make this go away. Is it at all possible they're reacting to you? For example, if it was explained in a reasonable and rational way that they would understand instead of just telling them to go fuck themselves? It sounds like you're a bit of a hothead and like your son is as well. I don't agree with what's happening, but I also know overreacting never helps. I think this is better suited to our legal advice than here. Whatever you do, you absolutely do not want to just ignore the fine. It could result in an eventual lawsuit or a lien against your property. NTA. But get a lawyer before you end up with a lien. NTA. They can impose certain restrictions, but they're not allowed to say when people can get home, especially if it's because they were at work. I wish people understood what unconstitutional means before they say it. NTA. HOAs can be awful, but I've never heard of this. A curfew about when people get home doesn't sound realistically manageable or enforceable. Especially because your son has a job and that's very easy to prove. NTA. They can't enforce what time he gets off work. Silly rent-a-cops. NTA. The law is overstepping. I wouldn't pay either, but you should contact a lawyer in case they attempt to put a lien on your home. NTA. But I think it's you that needs to file in court. Otherwise, they'll just put a lien on your property for unpaid fines or possibly foreclose. You have to contest the validity of that rule and the fine to establish that it was beyond the scope of their authority or unconstitutional or illegal. Whatever the case may be.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.